Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It is Thursday, September 18th, a little after 8 o'clock at night, and this is our daily recap video for YieldMax's Ultra funds. The first is Ulti, their Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and then we've got SLTY, the Ultra Short Option Income Strategy Fund. Today was X day for our weekly payers, as well as, I believe it was Group C. Yes, Group C. We got our announcement yesterday. Today was X day. Tomorrow is payday. Reminder, I'm on X at ETF_Inspector1, posting all things related to these ETFs. I repost from the companies that we cover, and I also let you know when videos are coming out. I also do Spaces talks, not me personally, I don't host them, but I participate in other people's Spaces talks when invited. All right, so it was a crazy day in the market today. We're loving it. This feels like Ulti from 2 months ago when you couldn't even tell that we had a drop from the distribution, just like today. So ended up beautifully up on the day, 1.13%. What's that come out to? 6 cents. That's weird. That says +6. That says, oh, that's for the week. So +6 for the day, another 2 after hours. Not that that counts for anything. Lots of green. Basically, this was kind of what we expected to happen after the rate cut yesterday. The market just took a day before they decided to go crazy. Maybe not. Maybe there was a different reason, but we'll go through all the individuals. But obviously, if it's a great day for the market, it's going to be a bad day for SLTY. So they were down another 1.24%, but after hours they jumped 2.8%. So again, that could have been a very small amount of volume, one small block of trades. But all right, so on a day like this, when everything blows through, we know a couple things are going to happen. One, there's going to be tons of trades. So Ulti starts on line 357. This is the download that becomes available every day around 5:30 on YieldMax's website. I take this and turn it into what you're going to see in just a minute. But it goes all the way up to line 497. That's 140 trades. And then SLTY starts at 499 and goes to 535. That's not too bad. 36 trades. All right, we'll start with Ulti as always, Ulti underdogs. And we had a little bit of swapping out, as you saw on the thumbnail, right? We sold our shares of Webull. So let's take a look. We sold basically in the low to mid 1260s. Where did it end up? 1274. So if we would have held out later in the day, we'd have got a better price. And then we added bullish. So we got rid of bull and got bullish. What did we pay? 60, 62, and 64, almost 65. We don't have, let's see, where did bullish end? I've already added them to our list. 65, 61. So all the shares we bought are already in the positive. Not a ton of money, right? What's that? 35, about $36 million. So for this fund, we generally have $150 to $200 million in funds. So that's a very small play, which means that it's likely they're testing it out before they add more, or it's just a quick play. We took some profits on Rigetti as well as Oklo. We added to Open Door. We just bought into them maybe yesterday or the day before. We added to Coinbase. We added to CoreWeave, and that's everything. Oh, and we added to Hims and Hers, which we just picked up recently. So bought more shares on a lot of things. Starting off bullish, right? So we bought shares. So we're going to start our collar strategy. $549,000 credit on that. We're just starting right off selling for next week. So we're not too worried about it. We'll talk about numbers on the week look ahead. Webull, we closed everything out. So with closing out but not selling into next week, it's going to end up being a debit most times unless the stock really dropped and your puts are worth a whole lot, which was not the case. So we got $768,000 debit. coin, we're closing and rolling to next week, taking our strikes from 335 up to 360 and 365. That's going to cost us $4.3 million. Credo Technology, just get used to it. We're going to basically be paying to close every trade. That's what happens when the stock market shoots beyond all our strikes. Closing out calls for this week at 16 and 1650, selling 160 and 165, selling 177 50s and 180s. $7.5 million cost or debit. CoreWeave cost $3.6 million to close and roll to next week. Taking them from, are they a $11, $12 stock? Yeah, 115. Okay. 115 up to 125. Like I said, $3.6 million debit. HIMS, we just bought new shares, so we're going to start a collar on those new shares. That brought in a credit of $592,000. Robinhood, this was just a portion. It wasn't all the contracts, so that's why it didn't get the orange. But we closed and rolled 7,000 of the calls and puts associated with them, going up by $9 on our sold calls and up by $5 on our puts. $2.2 million debit. Lululemon, we just have a credit put spread, so we closed out this week's paying roughly $80,000, and then we started the one for next week, which overall everything's a $1.6 million credit, so we can consider that one a win. We would have picked up over $1 million on opening it, so to close it out for $80,000, it's going to be a nice win. MicroStrategy, now Strategy, cost $3.2 million to close and roll out to next week. Paying almost $15 and $19, closing those out, only collecting $6 and $7. Oklo cost $14 million on the close and roll. A part of that also is going to be that we're not rolling everything because we sold some shares to take some profit, so we're going to have to close out the options to go with them, but we don't get to sell the options on the other end. So $14 million cost. Open Door, like we said, we added new shares, so we're going to start more of the collar strategy, bringing in $550,000. Palo Alto Network, it seems like we're doing well with these put spreads, but that makes sense. If the whole market's up, then all of our puts are staying out of the money when we're selling them. So closing that out, even better, only cost $15,000 to close it out. We picked up basically $1.7 million opening the new one. Palantir, closing and rolling to next week, going from 170s and 172.50s up to 180s and 182.50s. That cost $4.2 million. Reddit was another $4.2 million cost to roll these options out to next week, going from 262.50 up to 290. Rigetti cost almost $18 million to close and roll. Closing out these $20.50s and 23s that were all ready for next week, selling 25s and 28s. So that's really rough. Rocket Lab had a credit of $493,000 on the close and roll to next week, so that was a nice little win. We actually dropped our strike price by $2 on them. Rocket Companies brought in $1 million on the close and roll to next week. Right, we're paying 13 cents to close them out, collecting 65, but our puts are taking a good chunk of the profits. And finally, New Scale Power, SMR, was a $12.6 million debit or cost to close these out and roll to next week, going from 36.50s and 37.50s up to 41s and 42s. So all in all, on the options trading side of things, it was a debit of $68 million. That's going to go along with an increase in our shares value of our underlying shares of just under 100 million, 99 million. All right, when we take a look at how the holdings within the fund performed. Sorry, I had to take a drink. Affirm down 0.5%. So these are still going to need to get closed and rolled tomorrow. They're 1.2 and 3.4% out of the money at 91 and 93. Webull, we closed and rolled, or we closed everything, sold the shares. We're done with them. Coinbase up over 7%. Everything got closed and rolled. Credo Technology up 4.79%. Everything closed and rolled. CoreWeave up 0.44%. Everything closed and rolled. $528 million in government funds. Another $126, almost $127 million in cash and other. What was that? Around 655, 660, something like that. First Solar down 0.5%. These still need to get closed and rolled tomorrow. Right now they're looking like wins. Right at the money with the 210.1% out of the money, and the 182.50s are 12.9% out of the money. So those are puts that we sold to help pay for. They're helping pay for these purchased puts. It doesn't make sense why these would cost more than those. So that's an oddity. That's probably why they didn't close them out today. There's no reason for them to a $182 put to cost more than a $190 put for the same day. Galaxy Digital, we got this put spread expiring, already been rolled the next week. It's 6% out of the money. Hims and Hers up 11.6%. Are they not the high? They are not the high. So we increased by $11 million alone on them, but we already are in the money on next week's options that got sold, 2 and 5%. Robinhood up 1.9%, just barely broke into the money at 120. So these will get rolled tomorrow. They're 0.75% in the money. IonQ was up 2% today. These have already all been rolled to next week, and they're at the money and 4.7% out of the money with those 67s and 70s. Lululemon, this was no shares, just the put spread. Everything got closed and rolled to next week. Strategy up almost 6%. Everything closed and rolled to next week. Oklo up over 10%. Everything for this week's been rolled to next week, and our calls that are already sold for next week at 100 are 4.7% in the money. Open Door was the big loser today, down 2.6%. We've got 10s and 1050s sold for tomorrow that are 0.6 and 5.6% out of the money. So we should be closing them for a win, hopefully tomorrow. Palo Alto Networks, put spread again, no options. Put spread only, no shares. That got closed and rolled to next week. Palantir Technology up over 5%. Everything was closed and rolled to next week. Reddit up 1.59%. Everything was closed and rolled to next week. Rigetti Computing, the big winner, up over 12.5%. Everything for this week got closed and rolled to next week, and a portion of next week's options also got rolled to a different strike, but we do still have $23 calls sold for next week that are already 7% in the money. Rocket Lab was down 1.87%. They took the win on these 52s and rolled them out. They still have the 51s expiring tomorrow, 8% out of the money. Rocket. What? Oh, and then they also have 50s that have been sold till the following week that are just about 6% out of the money. Sorry for the confusion. I thought a line of Rocket got put up there, but it's not. Now Rocket Companies down just a hair, 0.09%. They closed and rolled what was there for this week, and next week's 2250s are 6.4% out of the money. New Scale Power was up over 5.5%. Everything for this week got closed and rolled. We already have 38s sold for next week that are in the money by 0.3%. We got a Tesla put spread, no shares. Too bad we don't have shares. It just keeps going up. But we've got a $410 put sold for tomorrow. It's 1.6% out of the money, so as long as it stays above 410, we'll close that out for a nice win. Unity Software down 0.25%. these still need to get rolled tomorrow, but they're 1% and 2% in the money with those 44.50s and 45s. And finally, Upstart down 0.1%. So on both of these, it's a good thing that they didn't close and roll them earlier. So a whole nother day has decayed away, and they dropped a little bit. So they will be cheaper to close on Friday than they would have been back on Wednesday when they went in the money. Upstart 0.8% in the money on those 67.50s for this week, and then 72s for next week are already 5.8% out of the money. So all of that resulted in a $99 million increase in value. Assets under management just under $3.3 billion. There was increase or people buying into the fund yesterday to the tune of 1.6 million shares. Outstanding shares are up to 588,775,000. And again, today was X day. Tomorrow is payday. So I believe the number was 9. This is last week's most recent distribution. So tomorrow that'll change. Was it 926? Yes. So all right. So that's everything Ulti. We're going to start trying to get through SLTY a little faster since it doesn't seem to have a very big following. Nobody's buying into it. It's staying the same. It just keeps dropping. It's worth $11 million. I mean, that's like one trade over in Ulti. So going to skim through a lot faster. Big picture, what'd they do? Sold out of Applied Digital and also sold out of MP Materials, and they added Duolingo. So not sold out of, they bought the close, because when you short something, you start by selling it, you end by buying it. So we short sold some Duolingo shares, only $400,000 worth though, and we got out of Applied and MP. So on A-Lab, we brought in $28,000 on options trades. Applied, just the closeout, brought in $32,000. Bloom Energy brought in almost $59,000 on that closeout. So what we're seeing happening here is it's very cheap to close out these puts because everything went up, the sold puts, and at the same time, all of the purchased calls that are for protection are ending up being worth a bunch of money. You see A-Lab, for example, $12,000 is what they received closing out their calls, and they only had to pay $2,000 to close out their puts. Applied Digital even better there, right? Almost $38,000 received selling those protective calls. So it's a good thing they have them, or the fund will be in even worse trouble. So you guys get the idea. Circle Internet Group brought in $29,000 trading. Duolingo, this is just starting a reverse collar strategy to go with the new shorted shares, $4,600 credit. Mara had a credit rolling to next week, $51,000. MP closing everything out had a credit, $4,200. So again, that shows those purchased calls, protective calls that ended up going in the money. And then Nebius Group, same thing, right? The highest value thing on the whole board is the selling of the purchased calls. $35,000 credit. So all in all, it was a $244,000 credit on the options trading side of things, and shares within the fund dropped by $224,000 based on market moves. All right, so Astera Labs was up 1%. Everything's closed and rolled. Applied Digital, they were out of them, no longer within the fund. SLTY. Bloom Energy up 1.6%. Everything closed and rolled. BitDeer Technology down 0.1%. These 1550s expire tomorrow. They're 8% out of the money. Circle Internet Group up 7%. Everything closed and rolled. And then obviously going up hurts because when you're shorting shares, you want them to go down. Enphase Energy down 0.7%. We got these puts expiring tomorrow. 1.1% out of the money at 38. GitLab was the big loser today. That's pretty bad. In a fund full of things you think are going down and you're shorting, and the biggest drop is 0.7%. You know you're having a bad day. Their 48.50 puts expiring tomorrow are 3% out of the money. Lemonade was up 2.6%. So they're going to end up, basically everything's going to end up getting closed and rolled to the following week for a profit because the stocks are going up. So it's going to hurt your overall value of the fund, but it's going to help your options trade wins. Mara up 6.6, almost 6.7%. Everything closed and rolled. MP Material Groups was the biggest gainer on the day, so that's extra bad news for you when you're trying to short things. Up almost 8%. Everything's been closed out. Nebius Group up just a fraction, 0.04%. Everything was closed and rolled. They took the win. RH up 1.72%. These 225 puts expiring tomorrow, 3.6% out of the money. They also sold 255 calls to help pay for the protective 240s. They're 9.2% out of the money. Symbotic up 4.2%. 49s are now 4.4% out of the money. So those were right at the money yesterday. And then Tempest AI up 0.7%. $85 puts expiring tomorrow, 2.3% out of the money. $110 calls sold to help pay for the insurance policy are 26% out of the money. So all of those moves resulted in a $224,000 change in market value specific to the shares themselves, right? Obviously, every single option changed in market value too. We're just not looking at all of them up to change our spreadsheet every day. We're just giving you a big picture there. Like we said, assets under management has fallen below 12 million. This fund is not doing well for sure. So 275,000 shares. It's been like that for a while now. Most recent distribution, 55 cents. Tomorrow's payout, I think we said 55.12. What? Oh, okay. Last one was 55.20. This next one's 55.12. All right, that's all I've got for you. I appreciate you watching. Sorry the videos are late. It was a coaching soccer practice night. So I got a dad joke for you before I do. Thank you, everyone, for all the support. I appreciate it. And hopefully we're getting a good feeling back again, especially with Ulti. So, all right, dad joke of the day. What did Mars ask Saturn? Hey, why don't you give me a ring sometime? All right, good luck trading tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night. And if you got options expiring tomorrow, don't forget to close them or roll them, something. All right, catch you in the next video.